Welcome to Offensive Hacking. This course is designed for those wanting to demonstrate real-world experience in penetration testing, network security, or offensive hacking. Be sure to check out the table of contents under the Offensive Security course page. Module 00 is the foundation for all labs that follow. Once you have successfully completed this first module, you'll be ready to proceed with the rest of the course. Please do not enroll until you have successfully completed the first module of the course, Lab 0A. The virtual lab environment consists of a single virtual install of Kali Linux and one virtual install of Windows XP SP2. Everyone has access to this module. If you already have a virtual install of Kali Linux, feel free to enroll in the course. Beat each short video tutorial before starting any lab. And remember, slow and steady wins the race. Trying to race through any lab can end in failure. Thanks for watching. At Cyber Offense, your success is how we rate our success. Enjoy the course. Great. Bye.
On ethical hacking, a hands-on approach to ethical hacking. I've worked in technology for over 20 years. I've been teaching online for 12, and I have 2 master's degrees, one in cybersecurity and the other one in information technology. And now let's go ahead and begin the course overview. This course was built and designed using VirtualBox, so all the lab files, all the videos show the use of VirtualBox. Students are free to use any hardware emulation program they want to use, such as VMware or Hyper-V, but I support VirtualBox. All the links for the software, any ISO files or OVA images are provided for you inside of the lab files. For this course, you're going to need one unattended virtual install of XP, one virtual install of Kali Linux, one virtual install of CSI Linux Investigator, and additional virtual installs of Microsoft Server 2008 and Linux Metasploitable. This course is broken down into sections. You are now looking at Section 1. This is the course overview. For Section 2, you will begin building your virtual lab environment. On Section 3, I show you how to optimize Kali, and in Section 4, anonymity, remaining anonymous while hacking online. Section 5, gathering information, which is open source intelligence, or OSINT. Section 6 is using Nmap. Section 7, scanning for vulnerabilities using Nessus. Section 8, scanning for vulnerabilities using OpenVAS. Section 9, exploiting Windows XP. And in Section 10, Netcat. Section 11 is exploiting Linux. Section 12, social engineering. Section 13, bash scripting for pen testers. And in Section 14, we have password cracking. And in Section 15, web-based application attacks. In Section 16, we talk about browser exploitation framework. Section 17, capture the flag, walkthrough for Mr. Robot. And Section 18, we have another capture the flag for Stapler. And in Section 19, you have your bonus section. Host machine with a preferred operating system of a Windows 7, 8, or 10, though Mac or a Linux machine can be used. But the preferred machine is a Windows machine. Students should have a minimum of 4 gigabytes of RAM, but 8 gigabytes is recommended. Students will have to have a system BIOS capable of supporting VT plus X virtualization. You'll also need a good internet connection. Prior to signing up for this course, 2 things need to happen. First, the student needs to be able to complete Section 2 of the course, which is the building of the virtual network environment. The second thing that the student needs to have or bring to the course is basic knowledge of operating systems, networking principles, IP addressing, and DNS. This course is dynamic and more lessons are added as time goes on. So the size of this course that you see now is not the size of the course when it was first built. This course has been expanded over time, and it continues to be expanded as I find new content that I can add to the course. And so that's going to conclude this short video presentation on the course overview. So if you have any questions or you have any concerns about any of the information that was presented to you in this course overview, please do not hesitate to reach out, contact your instructor, and I'll see you in my next video. And in this short video presentation, we're going to take a look at how we go about creating a virtual install of the latest version of Kali Linux using a VirtualBox. And though the installation procedure for creating a virtual install of Kali Linux using either VirtualBox or VMware remains the same, it is nice to see a updated video from time to time showing you the latest version for VirtualBox as well as the latest version for your Kali distribution. And though that doesn't mean a lot, it just tells you that you can go out to the VirtualBox download site and pick up the latest version of VirtualBox free of charge. So you can go out to the internet and you can just type in VirtualBox download inside of Google, or you can use the link that's inside of the lab file and it'll take you directly out to the download page for VirtualBox. Now currently I'm running VirtualBox 6.16 and there is an update for VirtualBox 6.18, so I'm going to go ahead and download it. And while you're here, you scroll on down just a little bit until you come to the VirtualBox 6.18 or whatever version of VirtualBox you have extension pack. Make sure you get a copy of that as well. So I've made sure that my current version of VirtualBox is closed or shut down. So I'm going to go over here to my downloads folder. I'm up here inside of Firefox and I'm going to find that VirtualBox package that I just downloaded for 6.18. Go ahead and double click it and the installation begins. I'm going to go ahead and just click next, and yes, and install. That's how easy it is. And the installation is just about done. And once this completes, we'll then just move on over to installing the extension pack for the latest version of VirtualBox that we just installed. Now, once the installation of VirtualBox does complete, you have the option to go ahead and launch. I'm going to go ahead and accept that option. Click Finish. Now that I have VirtualBox up and running, I can go over here to the Help about VirtualBox, and it tells me that I am running VirtualBox 6.1.18. Go ahead and close that out. And now that we have VirtualBox installed, the last thing we have to do is import the extension pack. Now to do this, you just go to File, and you go to Preferences. Over here in the left window pane, click on Extensions. I'm going to go ahead and remove the old one. And I'm going to add the new one. Now mine is saved to my desktop, so let's go ahead and find it. And here it is, extension pack 6.1.18. Just double click it, install it, agree to the terms. Now before you can do that, you have to scroll all the way through the terms. Once you've done that, you can click on the I agree button and the installation process begins. And then you get a message stating that it was installed successfully. Just click OK to that, click OK to the wizard, and you're done. We're now ready to move on with creating a virtual install of Kali Linux. Currently, for this video demonstration, the latest version of Kali, that is for the distro, is Kali-Linux-2024-4. And that is the distribution we will be showing you how to create a virtual install of using VirtualBox. To get the latest version of Kali Linux from the download site, you can just go to Google and you just type in download Kali Linux and it'll take you out to the official Kali Linux downloads page. Now once you're out here to the download site, you're just going to scroll down here to the bottom. Now there's a number of different ways that you can install Kali as a virtual machine. You can do it step by step using the actual 64-bit installer, or you can use the OVA file and just import Kali into your VirtualBox installation without having to go through the installation process step by step. If you scroll down just about halfway through the download page for the different installations for Kali Linux, you'll come to the OVA files. Now, this one says that I can download it as either a 64-bit VMware image or a VirtualBox image. We want VirtualBox. I also have to decide whether or not I want the 64-bit version or the 32-bit version. And over here to the right, it provides me with a link for the download page for the OVA file for VirtualBox. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And on the next page, I'm going to scroll on down until I come to the images for VirtualBox. I'm going to expand the plus sign here. And now I have a choice between downloading the 64-bit version of the OVA file or the 32-bit version for the OVA file.
Now I also have the option of downloading this as a straight download, or I can use a torrent. If I'm going to use a torrent, I have to have a torrent client. My torrent client is Free Download Manager. I'm going to go ahead and select that option. And when my download option pops up, it gives me another option to use Free Download Manager as my torrent client. I'm going to go ahead and accept that. I'll say OK. And it gives me the option to download it, and it's going to do everything for me if I have configured it inside of the properties for my Free Download Manager correctly. I'm going to go ahead and say download, and you're going to see that it starts the download process. And so once my OVA file for Kali Linux for VirtualBox has completed its download, I can close out my Free Download Manager, and I'm going to open up VirtualBox. Now once we're up here inside of VirtualBox, we're just going to go to File, and we're going to go to Import Appliance. Now on this first screen, just browse on over to where you saved your downloaded OVA file by clicking on this folder icon. I'm going to go up to my ISO images here, and I'm going to find my OVA file that I just downloaded, and there it is. Now all I have to do is just double click it. Now I'm going to scroll on down here, and we bring this up a little bit, and I'm going to click Next. I'm going to go ahead and accept all the defaults, and I'm going to import. Now I have to agree to the terms of usage, and I'm going to click on the Agree button, and the import process begins. And after just a few minutes, the importation completes, and we're able to launch our installation of Kali Linux from the left window pane of our VirtualBox. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this. The new username and password for the latest version of Kali is Kali, and the password is Kali, all lowercase. Now I'm going to go ahead and log on as root, and I'm going to use my password of Tor, and I'll show you how I did that in just a moment. Now that we have our Kali desktop, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the settings we might want to configure. You may not like that new checkered background that you get with the latest version of Kali. If you want to change it, just right-click on the desktop anywhere, go to Desktop Settings, and here you can select a different background. Another thing you may want to disable is the log off for inactivity after 5 minutes. To do that, you're going to go over here to the Power button, going to click on that. You're going to go to Settings, and from here you're going to click on Display, and you're going to move all of the sliders all the way over to the left to where it says Never, Never, Never. Underneath Security, make sure that you have this set to 5 seconds. Uncheck the box, Lock Screen when system is going to sleep. Now your system will not log you off after 5 minutes of inactivity. Now, if you would like to log on as root as opposed to logging on just as Kali, which is a default user, you can just change the password for root, and I'll show you how to do that. First thing let's go ahead and change the font here by zooming in a little bit. To log on as root, I'm just going to type in the following: sudo space passwd for password, and I'll just hit enter. Then it's going to want your new password. I'm just going to type in my existing password. I'll hit enter. I'll type in my new password one more time. And it tells me that my password updated successfully. Now you'll be able to log on as root. To update Kali, you have to have the correct network settings. So we can go up to Devices. We can go to Network, Network Settings. And you're going to have to change it over from whatever you're using to NAT network or bridged adapter. Now I prefer NAT network. That seems to work best. Go ahead and say OK. Now there are 3 update commands that I like to run. There's update, upgrade, and distribution upgrade. Now you can link all 3 of these commands together using 2 ampersigns like so. And then I can type in app-get space upgrade. Then I can type in 2 more ampersigns, and I can type in app-get space dist-upgrade. But I'm going to go ahead and do this one at a time. Here I found that I had an AMD 64 package waiting for me, and I've already downloaded that. That's good to go. Next I can do an upgrade. And lastly, if I want to proceed, I'll say yes. I'll type in Y and hit enter. As you can tell, the upgrade is related to the update that I just downloaded. It's all part of the AMD 64 package that I downloaded earlier. On this screen here, I'm just going to move my selection on over to yes. Do not prompt me for restarts or upgrades. Go ahead and do it automatically. Now the next command we need to run is the distribution upgrade command. So I've typed in app-get space dist-upgrade. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. Ask me if I want to continue. I'll type in Y for yes and hit enter. Now the last thing we want to do is remove any old packages that are no longer needed. This is going to help keep Kali running smoothly, and the old packages may get it confused, so it's always good to go ahead and remove what's no longer needed. So I've typed in app-auto remove. Ask me if I want to continue. I'll type in Y for yes. And so again, regardless if it's a major update or just a minor update with your Kali installation, the installation process using VirtualBox remains the same, remains constant throughout. It's not going to change. So if you got any questions or you got any concerns about anything we just covered in this video, don't hesitate to reach out, contact your instructor, and I'll see you in my next video. Professor K, and in this short video presentation, we're going to see how we can easily go about installing the VirtualBox extension pack inside of our VirtualBox Management Console. So to begin this process, let's go on out to VirtualBox and let's go to Downloads. Now once you're inside of the Downloads, you're going to have to look at the version of your currently installed VirtualBox package. So if your VirtualBox is anything other than what you see here, then you need to find the correct extension pack. Now currently I have VirtualBox 6.1.12 installed on my machine. So I'm going to scroll on down here until I come to the VirtualBox 6.1.12 Oracle VM VirtualBox extension pack. I'm going to go ahead and download this, and I'm going to go ahead and just save it to my desktop. I've already downloaded it one time. I'll go ahead and say yes to this. So once you have the extension pack downloaded, just open up your VirtualBox Manager. And what you're going to do is you can just click on Tools, and over here to the right, you can just click on Preferences, and you go down here to where it says Extensions. Go ahead and click on that. Here you can go ahead and click on the plus sign, and now you can go to your download location. Mine's my desktop, and here it is, my extension pack. All I have to do is just double click it. Just go ahead and reinstall it. It won't hurt nothing. Now I have to agree to the license, and before I can do that, I have to scroll through the license, and I click on I agree, and now the extension pack will begin to install, and it only takes a moment for it to successfully install onto your VirtualBox software. Go ahead and click OK, and that's it. Now I have the VirtualBox extension pack installed, and I will be able to have access to a lot of additional features that I would not otherwise have access to. And so that's going to conclude this short video presentation on how we go about installing the VirtualBox extension pack into our installation of a VirtualBox Manager. So if you have any questions or you have any concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out and contact your instructor, and I'll see you in my next video. Greetings, I'm Professor K, and in this short video presentation, we're going to take a look at how we go about creating a virtual install of Cyber Investigations CSI Linux. So this latest version for CSI Linux is 2021.1. It's smaller, it's faster, and it's now more secure. But one problem that does arise when trying to get a copy of CSI Linux is that it is not easy to download. It is a bear to download, and let's take a look at the reasons for that. So let's go on over here to the download page. Scroll on down here to the bottom, and you'll see that you have three different download options. You have the ability to download the CSI Linux as a torrent file, a magnet file, or a Dropbox download. Well, I can tell you that the Dropbox download works really nice for about halfway through the download, and then it just stops and starts over again. So that's pretty useless. The torrent file and the magnet file work for the most part, but they are deathly slow. It took me all day and half of a night just to get the download for this new installation package. To overcome these obstacles of trying to download this VM image, I used Free Download Manager, and I was able to download it Even with the torrent package, it was still deathly slow. So my recommendation is that you can try the Dropbox download and do a direct download, or you can attempt to copy it over to a Dropbox account if you have one. None of that worked for me, so I ended up going through the torrent file, and then I finally settled on the magnet link, and I was able to use Free Download Manager to manage the download so that I could eventually get it. Down here in the download section, you'll see that you have the requirements given to you. You need at least 8 gigabytes of RAM. You need 50 gigabytes of free space, at least a 2-core processor. You need VirtualBox, and you need internet access. All that has to be in place. So when we talk about VirtualBox, you're going to have VirtualBox installed. I'm currently running the latest version, which is 6.1.18. You're also going to need to install the VirtualBox extension pack. That's on the same page. Just scroll down a little bit and you can download that part of the installation from the same site. So once you have the OVA file for CSI Linux downloaded, you have 2 different options for importing it into VirtualBox. The first option that you can use is just to go up to File and you can import the appliance. That's one way. The other way is just to browse on over to where you downloaded the OVA file. You can right click on it and you can select Open With and then select VirtualBox. Let's see how that works. So I saved my download of CSI Linux to my downloads folder. Now if I find that OVA file up inside of my downloads folder and I just right click on it, I could then select from the context menu Open With, and then I can select VirtualBox Manager. So once the importation process does begin up inside of VirtualBox, you'll be given the appliance settings. There's nothing for you to do in here. You can just leave it alone. Everything's already selected for you. Once you're ready, just go ahead and click on the import button. You're going to have to agree to the terms and the import process will begin. So while this import process is completing, we can talk a little bit more about the changes that have been made to the new version of CSI Linux. The main change that you're going to notice is that there is no more gateway. It has been streamlined into just a Tor network application that is now part of the CSI Linux when you install it. The second change is that the SEAM application is no longer available as a secondary download or OVA file. You now have to install SEAM as a Docker application. So one of the biggest changes is the size of the download. Now this has gone from 14 gigabytes in download size to where it is now at 7.11 gigabytes. The reason this has happened is that a lot of the tools, such as MetaGofill and some others, are no longer part of the default installation. But because it is using Ubuntu, the latest version of Ubuntu, you should be able to install any missing tools using something like Ktoolin version 3, or you should be able to update your version of Ubuntu and get what it is you're missing without a whole lot of grief. Hopefully that will be the case. This small download size of the package for CSI Linux might be an indicator that once you do have a desktop and you do run the power up command, that anything that is missing will be pulled over from the repositories. And so our installation of CSI Linux has completed successfully into VirtualBox Manager. Now all we have to do is just go over here and we can start it by double clicking it. We can start it by going over here and clicking on the green start arrow. We'll just go ahead and double click and give it a chance to boot up. Now when we update CSI Linux, we should automatically also be updating the VirtualBox guest editions. And that's going to allow us to have the ability to go full screen, as well as the ability to copy and paste from our host into the virtual machine itself. The password to log on to the desktop for CSI Linux is CSI, all lowercase. Hit enter. So make sure that you do read the readme.txt that's on the desktop when you first get into the desktop for CSI Linux. It will tell you how to update. It'll tell you how you're going to get some other features such as the API keys that you're going to need for some of these applications. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a terminal, and I'm going to update CSI Linux. So using my terminal and the view from the taskbar, I was able to zoom in so you can get a better look at what I'm doing here. So if I just type in power up, it should ask me for my password, and it does. I'll type in CSI for the password, hit enter, and we'll see what happens. So you can see that it goes right on out to GitHub, and it starts updating the GitHub tools. And it continues on with updating Ubuntu and whatever applications that need to be updating. Okay, so the update and the upgrade for my CSI Linux has completed successfully. We can close out this terminal. Let's go ahead and take a look at the toolbar down here at the bottom of our CSI Linux screen. And if we go over here to the CSI Tor VPN, this used to be the CSI gateway. Now it's very easy to have secure anonymous communication using CSI Linux now. All we have to do is just double click this, and it pops up and asks you what network adapter do you want to use. It even brings you up a terminal showing your current configurations for all the different adapters. And if you scroll up here, you'll see that the adapter that we want to use is this one right here, and it has an IP address of 10.0.2.15. It's already chosen for us. We can go ahead and highlight that, and we can press the OK button. Now we can tell it that we want to turn CSI Tor VPN on. Just press OK. And over here in the window, bring this up full screen, you'll see that it's going through the process, but it's going to want to use your password. So I'm going to type in CSI. Hit enter. Now it's going to restart the Tor service. And in just a moment, you will have yourself a secure anonymous connection using the Tor network. And down here you can see the changes that have been made to my TCP/IP configuration. And if I go up here, I can now look at what is my IP address to confirm that I'm currently on the Tor network. Just go ahead and check that. And you can see your current IP address information as it's being configured by the Tor network. So as you get up inside of your installation of CSI Linux, don't be shy about looking around. All the applications are up here available inside of the application quick launch, and you can go up here and you can see all the tools that are currently installed just by going into each one of these directories here, and you can see what has been added and what has been taken out from the previous installation of CSI Linux. Again, you'll find a lot of the tools are linked to the case directory. So when you launch an application, don't be surprised if it asks you to create a case number or enter a case number. So if I type in 101 for my case number, I press OK, then we know that the case has been built up inside of that case directory, which I'll show you in just a minute. So here you have a number of options. You can turn on or off the CSI Tor VPN. You can search for search engines up inside of the dark web, Bitcoin search, or you can exit. So if you'd just like to do a search for Tor search engines, you can just select that option, press OK, and enter a keyword to search. So I can type in guns, I'll hit enter or OK, and it pops up a little bit of information letting you know that it's going to take some time. Press OK to that. So regardless of what you're looking for on the dark web, you can use the dark web search utility and you can pull it up using a number of different search engines. Move this over just a little bit, and if you go into the case folder, you'll see that you have a case that we created. That was 101. If I open this up, you'll find a number of default folders that have already been created for you when you built the case. And that was a very broad search. So in terms of searching, you want to try to narrow down your search as much as possible. For instance, a particular type of gun or a category of guns, such as rifles or pistols, those are the things that you can use to narrow down that search criteria. We can go ahead and stop the search. And so that's going to conclude this short video presentation on how we go about downloading and installing the new version of CSI Linux. You got questions, you got concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out, contact your instructor, and we'll see you in my next video. Greetings, and in this short video presentation, we're going to see how we go about creating an unattended virtual install of Windows XP using the VirtualBox. For this demonstration, I'll be using VirtualBox version 5.2.6. To see which version of VirtualBox you are currently using, you can go to Help, and you can go to About VirtualBox. If you would like to check for updates for your current version of VirtualBox, you can go to File, and then you can click on Check for Update. For this lab, we'll need to download the Windows XP SP2 unattended ISO image. The download link for the ISO file is located within the lab file itself. If we put our mouse over the link and hold down the Control key, we can then click on the link and the download process will begin. Once the download page for the image does load, we can go up to the upper right corner, find the three dots, and just click on that, and the context menu opens up, giving us the download option. Clicking on the download option, we are then given the option to either open with or save the file. We want to save the file, and we want to save it to a location, and remember where we saved it. So I'm going to say OK, and this is going to be saved over to my folder called ISO image. Once the download has completed, we can return to our VirtualBox, and we can begin the creation of the unattended install of Windows XP. To begin the installation process, we're going to go up to New, and that opens up the Create Virtual Machine Wizard for VirtualBox. We're going to give the machine a user-friendly name. I'm going to call this Windows XP, and we see that VirtualBox has detected that I'm going to be using Windows XP 32-bit, and I can select Next. Now, if it doesn't detect it, just pull down the Windows where it says the type, select Windows, then on the next window, pull down where it says version, and then select Windows XP 32-bit. Go ahead and say Next. On the next page, we can increase the RAM up to 1024, and we can say Next. We're going to leave the default for Create a Virtual Hard Disk Now. We're going to say Create. That opens up another wizard for the hard disk file type. We're going to accept the default for VDI. We're going to say Next. We're going to accept the default for dynamically allocated. We're going to select Next. We can leave the 10 gigabyte disk size as is because that's plenty of room for the installation of Windows XP. And now we're ready to begin the installation process. To start the installation process, we're going to go up and we're going to click on the Start button. On this next window that opens up, we have to browse over to the startup disk. In this case, that's going to be our unattended ISO image for Windows XP. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Browse button. That's going to take me over to where I keep or I downloaded that Windows XP Professional SP2 unattended.iso image. I'm going to double click it. I'm going to select Start, and in just a moment the installation for Windows XP unattended will begin. Now I say unattended. The unattended part is where it will not prompt you for a installation key, and it automatically logs you on to the desktop of Windows XP. So the first screen in the installation process wants to go ahead and select a partition. We're going to go ahead and hit Enter. We're now going to format that partition using NTFS. Hit Enter. The formatting process begins. Once the formatting process has completed, the setup starts the copying of files. Once the copying of files has completed, the machine will restart, and it comes back up, and it will begin the GUI portion of the setup. You can ignore the time for the setup. I know it says 39 minutes, but it's probably closer to 12, maximum probably 15 minutes to set up and create a Windows XP installation. For the date and the time, it's very important that we set the clock as it is for our Kali machine. So whatever time zone and whatever time we have present on our Kali,
we need to ensure that Windows XP reflects the same time zone and time. So I'm going to go ahead and just say next to this, and the installation continues. Once the installation completes, Windows XP will restart, and when it comes up, it will automatically log you onto the desktop. We now have Windows XP loaded and up to the desktop, and we're now going to begin the optimization process. The first thing we want to do is go ahead and install the guest editions so that we can get Windows XP to go full screen. To do this, I'm going to go up to Devices, and I'm going to go down to where it says Insert Guest Edition CD Image. That begins the process of installing the guest editions. Get some of these balloons out of the way. And we're going to click Next and Next, accept all the defaults, and just let the installation begin. Once the guest editions have completed their installation, you will need to do a reboot. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Finish and allow it to reboot now. Windows XP has rebooted. I can now go full screen. Now, the next thing we're going to do is stop Windows XP from logging us off after 10 minutes of inactivity. To do this, I find any space on the screen, I right-click, and I go to Properties. On the Display Properties window, we're going to click on the Screensaver tab, and down here where it selects the screensaver, we're going to pull that window down, and we're going to select None. We're going to say OK, and we're done. The next thing we have to ensure is that our Windows Firewall for Windows XP has been disabled. To do this, we're going to go to the Start button. We're going to click on Control Panel. From here, we're going to change it over to Classic, and then we're going to select the Windows Firewall. Make sure that the Windows Firewall has the radio button for the Off selected. We're going to go ahead and say OK to that. Close out the Control Panel, brings us back to our desktop. Now, the last thing we need to discuss is how to properly shut down Windows XP. Windows XP is very detrimental about how it gets shut down, and it's very easy to corrupt the installation files. We do not go up to the right corner and click on the box that gives us the option to shut down. That is not how we do it. To shut down or restart Windows XP, we go to the Start button and we select Turn Off the Computer, and from the next window we select either Restart or Turn Off. That's the only way you can properly shut down Windows XP. If you shut it down any other way, it will become corrupted. And when that happens, it's not a major deal. Just go ahead and create yourself another virtual install of Windows XP using the same process. In this short video presentation, you got to see how we go about creating an unattended install of Windows XP. If you have any questions or concerns about the content of this video, please do not hesitate to reach out and contact your instructor. And I'll see you in my next video.